10 explanations for the color schemes used on everyday things. We typically don't listen to the colors of many everyday things. However, we might be fast to note one thing is amiss if we have a tendency to found them in another color. For example, a blue school bus, or an inexperienced airplane, or automobile with red tires, or brown traffic lights. This is as a result of we subconsciously expect airplanes to be white, car tires to be black, and college buses to be yellow. These items often have these colors sure as shooting reasons. Sometimes it's all concerning practicality. Different times, it is all about some weird events that happened in history. Number 10. Why traffic lights are red, yellow, and green. The light was fancied for trains. At the time, it had only two colors, red for stop and white for go. A inexperienced light was later intercolored to mean caution. Thus it absolutely was red for stop, green for caution, and white for go. However, the white light before long evidenced problematic as train drivers typically mistook it for an overseas star or another light. Train corporations noticed this and replaced the white light with green. So it absolutely was red for stop and inexperienced for go. Road traffic regulators adopted the traffic lights once vehicles came along. However, they enclosed a traffic signal to mean caution. Yellow was elected as a result of its a shorter wavelength than red, however extended wavelength than green. The distinction in wavelengths is that the reason that red is the most visible from afar. Yellow is a smaller amount visible than red but additional visible than green. Number 09. Why taxis are yellow. Yellow is taken into account the factual color of taxis, although they may seem in numerous hues looking on native regulations. Whereas some states like New York need taxis to be completely yellow, others created another color mandatory. Why? Well, that's thanks to John Hertz, who eventually developed the Hertz Rental Automobile Company. Taxis weren't exclusively yellow decades ago. In fact, the primary NY taxis appeared in an exceedingly style of colors, particularly red and green, that modified when John Hertz launched his taxi business in Chicago in 1915. Hertz funded analysis to work out the foremost visible color for a motor vehicle. The study disclosed that yellow is the one. Therefore the yellow taxi was born. Different taxi corporations before long caught on to Hertz's strategy and started to color their taxis yellow. The color became thus common that states like NY amended their laws to want all taxis to be painted yellow. Interestingly, Hertz wasn't the primary person to paint his taxis yellow. In 1909, Prince consort Norman Rockwell was. Rockwell even went on to call his taxi business the Yellow Taxi Co. in 1912. However, he had no sensible reason for mistreatment yellow and solely elected the color as a result of his partner liked it. Number 08. Why faculty buses are yellow with white super and black lettering. U.S. laws needs all school buses to be yellow. The law even specifies the type of yellow. That is that the capably named school bus yellow. School bus yellow could be a real color named when the college bus. It's truly a mix of yellow and orange. Before the law, these vehicles were painted a shade of yellow that seemed like lemon. Jitney yellow was elected throughout a 1939 conference to work out the options for school buses. Attendees at the conference united on the color yellow as a result of it is the foremost visible hue for a vehicle. Studies have tried it. We are able to spot a yellow item, although it is circuitously in our view. Attendees known as it National Jitney Chrome. However, it absolutely was later renamed School Bus Yellow. 3. Yellow school buses typically have black inscription. As a result of black is that the most distinguishable color which will be used against a yellow background. The highest of college buses are often white, which has taken into account the absence of colorized in some contexts because it reflects daylight higher than different colors. Darker hues will absorb the sunlight, inflicting heat within the buses. Number 07Y fireplace trucks are red. Red accustomed to be the factual color for fire trucks. These days, however, they are available in an exceedingly style of colors, relying on native laws and therefore the fire department. The explanation that fireplace engines are accustomed to be red is unclear, and the explanations are even contradictory. Some sources say the primary fire trucks were red as a result of it absolutely was the most cost-effective paint around. Fireplace departments were staffed by unpaid volunteers at the time, and that they failed to have a lot of cash to spare. In order that they simply painted their vehicles with the cheapest paint they may get. For a second and contradictory theory claims that the first fuel engine was the result of a contest among firefighting departments. These teams were purportedly staffed by volunteers at the time. However, individual fireplace fighting departments wished to phase out. In order that they went for the foremost overpriced paint they may lay their hands on, which once more was red. A third theory claims that early fire trucks were painted red as a result of firefighters wanted their vehicles to be visible to different road users. Therefore the firefighters opted for the color red that was terribly visible and distinctive at a time once most vehicles were black. However, this theory is controversial because colors like yellow and lime inexperienced supply higher visibility than red. Number 06Y Equid crossings are black and white in the late 1940s. Country government launched a nationwide experiment to work out the simplest colors for marking pedestrian crossings. The experiments became a necessity when a series of accidents involving pedestrians and motorists. At the time, Great Britain was experiencing a surge in motorized vehicle ownership. This became a haul as drivers typically mowed down crossing pedestrians, who weren't accustomed to sharing the roads with cars. The government created pedestrian crossings. However, they did very little to assist scale back the accidents. This was as a result of the crossings were marked with metal studs that were nearly invisible to the drivers. The government later determined to change to colored markings and launched the experiment to work out the simplest colors for the roads. They determined that black and white was the foremost visible pattern. Drivers might see it from farther distances than different colors, at an equivalent time. It additionally created the crossing pedestrians visible to the drivers as a result of they stood out from the background. The crossing solely got its name when Jim Callaghan, who was a member of Parliament at the time, visited a black and white pedestrian crossing throughout the experiment and remarked that it resembled equid markings. The primary official zebra crossing appeared on October 31, 1951. Number 05Y fireplace hydrants were red. Red accustomed to be the factual color of the hearth hydrant. However, they're doing seeming and exceedingly, in a very, style of colors nowadays. Whereas several fire hydrants are coated with a random, bright hue to form them visible to passing pedestrians. The paint jobs don't seem to be forever arbitrary. The paint may be accustomed to indicate the supply of water for the hydrant. During this case, a yellow coating shows that the hydrant is connected to the general public water system, while a violet coating indicates it's joined to a lake or pond. Alternatively, the paint job could be an indicator of the gallons of water that the hydrant will give per minute. The most powerful hydrants are painted blue. They're capable of providing a minimum of 5,680 liters, 1,500 gallons, of water a minute. Inexperienced fireplace hydrants yield 3,785 to 5,680 liters, 1,000 to 1,500 gallons, of water a minute. Orange hydrants deliver 1,890 to 3,785 liters, 500 to 1,000 gallons, of water a minute, and red hydrants provide below 1,890 liters, 500 gallons, of water a minute. Number O2Y airplanes are white. Civilian airplanes are nearly completely white. There are many reasons for this. One is that the cost. Paints are overpriced. An everyday paint job runs between $50,000 and $200,000. This might be too expensive for a budget airline that buys a second-hand heavier-than aircraft from a bigger airline. White paint also saves cash as a result if it doesn't wood like the maximum amount maintenance is different colors. White is additionally an airline favorite because it reflects daylight off the plane. A darker color would absorb the heat, creating the inside of the airplane hotter. At an equivalent time, white reduces the danger caused by radiation and protects crucial airplane components just like a nose cone, which regularly contains the radar. A white paint job permits maintenance crews to sight cracks, dents, and leaks easily. It also reduces the chance of air strikes as a result of birds will see white better. Lastly, white heavier-than aircraft components are easier to identify on the bottom or ocean when an air crash. Number O2Y tissue paper is white. Toilet paper is nearly forever white because it absolutely was bleached. This can be an equivalent reason why the regular paper we have a tendency to compose is white. Regular and toilet paper would be brownish-gray if they weren't bleached. We perceive that regular paper is bleached white to permit USA to check no matter is written on that clearly. However, why is this done to bathroom paper? Bleaching prices cash and makes toilet paper additional expensive. Besides, it is a happening product. Thus, why bother? Well, it's in serious trouble. 2 reasons. First, makers bleach paper to get rid of lignin. Polymer is what creates trees rigid and equal an equivalent tissue to paper. Nobody needs stiff tissue paper. Thus, it gets bleached. A second reason is that we have a tendency to think about something white to be clean. This can be why manufacturers who make their restroom paper from recycled paper still bleach it white although it doesn't contain lignin. Besides, the uncolored product would seem in numerous colors and shades as a result of the paper comes from different sources. 8. Number O2Y football balls were auburn, so black and white. The initial animal skin balls were auburn as a result of natural leather is that color. Thus makers typically left the color unchanged. The reddish-brown football ball was used for the Planet Cup till 1971, so it absolutely was replaced by a black and white one. FIFA had Adidas produce the black and white ball because the Planet Cup was progressively televised at the time. And it might be troublesome for viewers to identify a colored soccer ball on their black and white televisions. Adidas used a mix of black and white because the black spots allowed viewers to work out the direction of the ball on their black and white televisions. 9. Adidas known as this ball but Telstar. That is brief for television star. However, some sources claim that the ball was truly named when the Telstar satellite that was accustomed to transmit the Planet Cup matches across the world. Number O2Y tires are accustomed to be white, however are currently black. Tires were once white as a result of the natural color of rubber is white. Unfortunately, these tires weren't terribly durable. They were quickly reduced handling, and cracked when hit by ultraviolet rays from the sun. Tire makers solved this by adding atomic number 6 to tires around 1917. Carbon black instantly solved the myriad of problems joined to white tires. This can be why black tires last for tens of thousands of miles, whereas white tires barely went 8,000 kilometers, 5,000 miles before they were due for replacement. However, Carbon black, as the name ought to have already hinted, made tires black. 10. Read additional fascinating facts concerning color on 10 superb ways that colors are vital in history and high 10 strange mysteries and facts concerning color.